Hello and welcome to this audio explanation of the term logos, or word, as it appears in John 1:1 and 1:14 of the New Testament, explored through the perspective of the Talmud and Jewish tradition. I'll guide you through the key concept, step by step, drawing on historical and scholarly insights. Keep in mind that the Talmud, a foundational Jewish text compiled between the 3rd and 6th centuries CE, doesn't directly interpret Christian scriptures like the Gospel of John. Instead, we'll look at parallel ideas in Jewish thought that may shed light on how first-century Jews might understood similar divine word concepts. Let's start with the biblical verses in question. John 1:1 states, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." Then, in verse 14, "And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us." Here, logos in Greek refers to a divine, pre-existent entity through which creation occurred, later incarnated in Jesus, according to Christian theology. This blends Greek philosophical ideas of reason or order with something deeper, roots in Jewish tradition. Now, turning to the Talmud and related rabbinic literature, the closest Jewish parallel to the logos is the Aramaic term Memra, which means word or saying. Memra isn't a central Talmudic concept, but appears in the Targums, Aramaic translations, and paraphrases of the Hebrew Bible used in synagogues around the time of Jesus. These Targums were part of the broader rabbinic world that influenced the Talmud. The Memra is often personified as God's active presence or agent in the world, helping to describe divine actions without making God seem too human-like or anthropomorphic. For instance, in the Targum Neophiti on Genesis 1:1, it reads, "From the beginning with wisdom, the Memra of the Lord created and perfected the heavens and the earth." This portrays the Memra as involved in creation, much like the Logos in John, where all things were made through him. Another example from Targum Onkelos on Genesis 3:8 describes the Memra of the Lord walking in the Garden of Eden, suggesting a tangible, interactive divine presence. Scholars note that while Memra appears sparingly in the Talmud itself, often in older sections referring to collections of rabbinic sayings, it reflects a rabbinic way of thinking about God's word as powerful and intermediary. For example, in the Talmud, God's creative acts are sometimes described through ma'amarot, or divine utterances, like in Pirkei Avot 5:1, which says, "The world was created with 10 sayings." This echoes the idea of creation by divine word, without full personification. Another strong parallel is Chokhmah, or wisdom, personified in the Hebrew Bible's Proverbs 8:22-31 as a divine entity present with God at the dawn of creation. "The Lord possessed me at the beginning of his work. I was beside him like a master workman." Rabbinic texts, including the Talmud, equate wisdom with the Torah, seeing it as pre-existent and the blueprint for the universe. In Talmud Bavli, Barakot 55a, for example, God consults the Torah for creation, linking wisdom to divine planning. The Shekhinah, or God's indwelling presence, is another Talmudic concept that parallels the Logos' role in dwelling among people. In Talmud Shabbat 12b, the Shekhinah accompanies Israel, representing God's nearness without incarnation. Importantly, these Jewish ideas, Memra, wisdom, and Shekhinah, emphasize God's unity and transcendence. Unlike the Christian Logos becoming flesh, Jewish tradition avoids literal incarnation, viewing these as expressions or attributes of the one God. Scholars like Daniel Boyarin argue that John's Logos draws from this Jewish milieu, not just Greek philosophy, making it a bridge between traditions. In summary, according to Talmudic and rabbinic perspectives, the word, like Logos, aligns with divine agents of creation and revelation, such as Memra and wisdom, but remains fully part of God's essence, not a separate being. This provides a rich Jewish context for understanding John's profound opening. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to dive deeper, explore the Targums or Proverbs for yourself. That's it for this audio. Hope it helped clarify things.